Welcome back to the Middle of Culture. I am one of your hosts, Eden.
And I am your other host, Peter.
Peter, how you doing? I started at a lower register than usual. I'm not sure why.
I don't know. I was just trying to make sure that I could match it.
Hello, I'm one of your hosts, Duke Nukem. I'm here to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of gum.
Excellent. No,
you know what sucks? Duke Nukem 3D. That's a bad video game. I've been thinking a lot about retro shooters. Doom, 1993's Doom, the best video game ever made. Duke Nukem sucks. Okay. What were you going to say?
I have never played Duke Nukem 3D. I have never played a full Duke Nukem game. I remember playing the old side-scrolling Duke Nukems that was, like a shareware version.
Mm-hmm.
I played there was some side-scrolling version that came out after Duke Nukem 3D, and then after the steaming pile of feculent matter that finally dropped Duke Nukem Forever, I took one look at all of the reviews about that and thought to myself, nah, I'm good. I'm good. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, you're not missing out on anything. It's one of those things that came up in a Discord I'm in the other day because people were posting stuff about Doom Eternal. Or not Doom Eternal, Doom the Dark Age, whatever the new Doom game is.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wanted to like Doom 4 and Doom Eternal, and I just don't very much. Because they're too much focus on like big arena fight and like melee, big shoots, melee, big shoots. I just want a super shotgun, and I want to run through some mazes with a super shotgun.
There you go. Those are simple desires.
That's all I want. Anyway, what you been up to? Anything fun?
It has been an interesting couple weeks. Very, very busy. And so my list of things I've been checking out is a little less. But, last week we had graduation from the University of Utah for Aubrey. Aubrey graduated.
Congrats to her.
Yep. So, I had work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Wednesday night, we drove down to Salt Lake. We had graduation started at 8 a.m. at the Huntsman Center. So we were like, well, we got to go down Wednesday night. So we got up Wednesday. We went to graduation. I will give the College of Science and the College of Mines and Earth Sciences. They did a convocation together. I will give them lots of credit. They hustled through. They had two people on each side reading the names. They had it all set up and made it through everyone. I think we were out by like 9:30. They had the talks. They had the presentations. Everybody got their diploma holders, and boom, we were out of there. So it was much quicker than I thought it was going to be. They did a nice job. And then we took the kids and friends, kind of the whole group. We went to Rodizio Grill and let the poor college students, and then we paid for them to gorge themselves on grilled meats of various varieties, which they enjoyed. So that was that. And then, and then I'll talk about it a little bit more in the actual stuff I've been checking out. But then I had to go back down. We drove back up then Thursday night. I had work Friday morning. Had to drive back down to Salt Lake Saturday to go to a concert. Again, I'll talk about that. And then this week it was a lot of, we have talked on the podcast about my experience and our experiences with tabletop role-playing games and such.
Mm-hmm.
And I had mentioned the extended Dungeons and Dragons campaign that I had been a part of for a couple of years. It would have been 3 years, one about 2.5 years, and then got killed by Donald Trump and his ilk for many other reasons, some of which were assumptions that maybe were not true, but that's okay. We'll leave that one alone. Needless to say, I got rest of the group back together, and I've been running Keys from the Golden Vault, and I will say, being the GM is a shit ton of work.
It is.
It's a lot of work. And so most of my free time this week was getting ready for Thursday night when everybody came over. So I haven't gotten into a lot of stuff, but here's some things that I have checked out. I have started reading a book called The Artist's Way. It's an older book about unlocking your creativity. It's interesting. It's kind of, there's almost like a religious bent to it, but she also specifically writes it in such a way and says straight up front, like if that part of it doesn't work for you, the rest of the stuff will still work for you. So been reading that. I just feel like I've kind of hit a little bit of a lull in my creativity. I'm not quite I'm just not quite feeling it. And I'm hoping that some of the exercises and things in this book will help me with that. So that's most of my reading, which is honestly not a lot. In terms of music, nothing really new that came out this last little bit. But as I mentioned, I did go down last Saturday to see Spiritbox in Salt Lake. We've talked a little bit about Spiritbox before. Their new album, Tsunami Sea, that came out earlier this year is excellent. And at the time, as that album had come out, I think I said that they are poised to become one of the biggest acts in kind of modern metal. Having now seen them live, I will say that if Spiritbox is not the biggest mainstream band in modern metal for the next decade, it is because they got in their own way somehow. They were incredible live. The energy was so good. The crowd was just super into it. And it was really interesting. I've been to a lot of metal shows, and usually it's like a 70, 80 or more percent dudes, men versus women split. Uh-huh. This was damn near 50-50. Huh. And that's a big deal for a metal show. I mean, it really was. So I went down, and it was me and my friend John, who's one of the nurses up here. And then I invited and took Hayden and Aubrey and Jess and Liv, Aubrey's best friend. And so we went out to dinner together, and then we went to the show. And honestly, that kind of, again, it was 3 and 3. That mix was really pretty much represented throughout the show. And that just speaks to, I think, their wider appeal than a lot of metal bands. And a lot of people who, the folks who went with me, with the exception of John, they're not really big metal fans, but they're Spiritbox fans. In fact, Aubrey and Hayden and Liv knew the songs better than I did because they've listened to them more than I have. And so it was a really good show, very good live, great energy. And I came away from it just going, yeah, no, there's a reason these guys have been blowing up. They bring it. They've got good songs. They have great energy, and people are really digging them. So it was a cool show to go to. I was very glad to make it down there and see them. The only other thing I would mention is that Friday night, because I wasn't on call that weekend. I'm on call this weekend. I'm on call next weekend. The weekend after that, I think Gareth has a swim meet or something. Anyway, last Friday was going to be the only day reasonably that Gareth and I could go see a little movie called Thunderbolts together. Asterisk. And so we went and we saw Thunderbolts asterisk together. And have you seen Thunderbolts asterisk, Eden?
I have seen Thunderbolts, and I am eager to talk about it with you for a little bit here.
All right. Well, should we have a little mini side dalliance into Thunderbolts asterisk?
Absolutely. Start no spoilers. We can do a little spoiler section if we need to, but what did you think about Thunderbolts?
I thought that Thunderbolts was my favorite Marvel movie since Endgame, with perhaps the exception of Spider-Man No Way Home.
You know what? I have been telling everyone I've talked to, I think Thunderbolts is probably the best Marvel movie easily since Endgame, which is, I'll admit, maybe damning with faint praise. And there's a couple I haven't seen.
It is a lower bar.
There's a couple I haven't seen. Bar. I haven't seen Quantumania, but I'm certain that's not better than this because everyone says that movie's a mess. And I have not seen Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which many people say is very good. And that one is apparently quite good, but I've never seen it.
Yeah.
Thunderbolts was surprisingly good. I was very surprised how good of a time I had there.
Well, and here's what I think. Here are a couple things and I'm going to try and keep these non-spoilery, at least up front. The first thing I'll say is I did not realize going into it that while it is a team movie in name, this is Yelena's movie.
Oh, they gave Florence Pugh the floor.
And they should have, because holy shit, that she is an incredible actor. I mean, she is like capital A actor. Like, she is acting her ass off in this thing, and that is the thing. This movie would have been so much less had they not let Florence Pugh take control of it the way she did. And again, I don't know if that's how it was written or whatever, but had it not focused so much on her, And her emotional journey to get to the start of this movie and her journey that she goes on through this movie as a reflection of the greater theme of the movie as a whole, this would be a far, far weaker movie.
I agree wholeheartedly. She is the heart and soul of that film. And, you know, when you hire one of the great actors of her generation, she carries the film, even if it's through a shitty Russian accent. Because, like, she still has that shitty Russian accent she had in Black Widow and the Hawkeye show. But
I'd like to at least compliment her on maintaining a consistent shitty Russian accent.
That's fair, because I don't know what's worse, a bad accent or oops disappearing bad accent like we got with the Scarlet Witch. And then
that's exactly
oops disappearing and occasionally reappearing, because that's the worst part with hers is that it will occasionally reappear and you're like, why? Why is it back? What's going on here? Pugh owns the whole film. The team is fun. Many of them acquit themselves very well. I ended up liking John Walker much more than I had
think I was going to.
Winter Soldier. Well, he's still a piece of shit. And that's the thing that movie understands, is they're like, this guy's an asshole. And he's not going to stop being an asshole just because he's in this movie. He's an asshole.
Correct.
You know, what little you see of Bucky is fun. He's not in the movie a ton. I remember finding David Harbour's Red Guardian kind of annoying in the Black Widow movie, but I thought he was pretty good in this one. I liked him in this one quite a bit. Ghost was there. Yeah. No disrespect to Hannah John Kamen. I think she's a fine actor. They just didn't give her a whole lot to do. But I thought it was fun. I really liked Bob.
Yeah. I like Bob a lot, too.
That's a character I've never cared about even a little bit.
I don't know anything. I've never read anything about him as a character. I don't have any. I knew that he was kind of, one of the superheroes, the overpowered. How do you exist in a world with a character this powerful? And hot diggity dang, if they didn't figure out what I thought was a pretty good way to make that work. And yeah, I really enjoyed that character.
All right, should we do a quick spoiler section here?
Let's do a quick spoiler section.
They're the funnest when you don't have the big punch fight at the end. That's even movies that I think are kind of mid win a lot of goodwill from me when they have an interesting ending. I think the first Doctor Strange movie is kind of mid, but it has a good denouement. This movie was good all the way through and then had a great denouement when the answer is we got to hug it out, because the only way we survive is together. And the only way we can move forward is together as people, as humans. And if we isolate ourselves and we sit in the things that hurt us the worst, sit in our trauma, sit in the things that have caused us the most pain, then we get trapped. And it is only through connection and love and care and community that we can recover. And that is a powerful statement, and B, so much better than if they figured out how to punch him.
Well, and that's why one of the things that I enjoyed so much about this movie is we get some good fights, and then we get the ridiculous, how can you stop a god? And that happens, 2/3 of the way through, where you realize, no, they're screwed. They cannot win this fight. And so, yeah, I loved that was the end. At the end, you've got, again, full spoiler territory, you've got Bob punching the void hard as he can, over and over and over again. And it is Florence Pugh first, and then the rest of the team coming and putting her arms and collectively their arms around him and each other. That's how they win.
Yep.
That's how they win.
And it's the only way.
Yeah.
And again, Pugh just owns those scenes where she is describing how empty she feels, how aimless she feels, how she's put her whole life into her job for nothing and gets nothing out of it. So all she does is go home to an empty apartment and drinks herself to sleep because nothing means anything. And like that shit hits, you know, like it hits you hard. And it is, I think, relatable to many of us. Maybe not the particulars of it, but like that feeling of I have nothing to focus on, so I put myself into my job or whatever it is that I'm trying to like, this is what I'll focus on. And it's not enough if you're doing it alone and you're not trying to like find community and love and a reason behind more than a job to live a life.
Well, and I'm going to misquote some stuff here because it's, you know, I saw it once. It's been a little over a week. But early on in the movie, when they meet Bob and he's talking about the void and the emptiness he feels and how does she deal with it? And she's sort of jokingly, but in a way that, again, I think we all relate to. She's like, hey, we just take it and you bury it. You just bury it down deep. Uh-huh. And kind of a ha 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 moment. But it's like, we've all done it. We all have done it. We may be doing it right now. And then there's a scene towards the end, which again, I don't remember exactly even where it falls, but it struck me because she says something to Bob. She says, Bob, you know, when I said that, that wasn't right. That was a lie. That doesn't work.
Uh-huh. It's good.
You know? And the scene between her and Red Guardian on the street where she just like, she calls him daddy and she's like, I'm so alone, daddy. Like, oh my gosh, she just kills it. It broke my freaking heart.
Yeah. It's really, it was a surprisingly good movie. And like and it's a funny reveal at the end of what the asterisk means on top of, like earlier in the movie, the asterisk meant something else because this was the joke that they kept saying was the name of their team. And it's named after her like Pee-wee soccer team from when she was 5. And the asterisk,
who were terrible,
who never won a single game. And the asterisk was to the sponsor of the team, Steve's Electronics or whatever. And then for the asterisk to eventually mean, no, this is actually the new Avengers team. A bunch of schlubs and foreign nationals are now the American government sponsored Avengers team. Is like, okay. We'll see what goes on here. This is an interesting place to be at. It is an interesting position for these characters to be in before we move into Avengers Doomsday in the next year or two. I thought Fantastic Four was going to be the good Marvel movie this year, and I am revising my expectations to say, no, I think Thunderbolts is going to be the good one this year, and Fantastic Four is probably going to be worse.
You know, I hope Fantastic Four is really good. I like a lot of the people in it. I think it has a lot of promise. And here's what I'd say. I think that if I come away from Fantastic Four saying, no, that's not as good as Thunderbolts, there is a really good chance that that is less a reflection on Fantastic Four and more a reflection on how good Thunderbolts actually is. I mean, I come away from Thunderbolts. I thought Thunderbolts was going to be fun. I thought it was going to be kind of silly and goofy, and I thought it was going to be of little consequence, both in the MCU story as a whole, but also as far as kind of my interest in the MCU, which admittedly has been waning significantly. Still haven't seen Captain America.
It's not good.
And not even, like, I'll tell you, I haven't even bothered to yo-ho-ho Captain America because I'm just like, whatever. When it's on Disney Plus, I'll just watch it because I'm already paying for it. Then on a weekend when I'm bored and I have nothing else to do. So I thought Thunderbolts was going to be just a fun little, okay, I'm glad we watched it, but now let's get to the next big movie, which, like you said, I was thinking that was going to be Fantastic Four. And I'm watching this going, no, I think that there's a good chance now. Sadly, there's always a chance that Fantastic Four isn't great because their hit and miss ratio lately has not been nearly as good as it used to be. However, like I say, I can see a world where Thunderbolts is the better movie, but not because Fantastic Four is bad, but because Thunderbolts is just really a good movie.
It's quite good. I'm eager to see those characters again, which I did not expect to say.
I agree. Well, that's all the stuff I've been into. What else? Anything else that you've been checking out that you want to share with us?
Thunderbolts was the big one that I wanted to mention. What else have I been doing? I've been continuing to read the Adachi and Shimamura light novels, which I have mentioned. I finished number 6. Those crazy kids are finally dating. It took 6 stinking books to get there. And it was literally the last sentence of the book was like, I decided maybe I'd see what dating Adachi was like. And I was like, y'all are killing me here. They're still very well written. They're still very fun to read. I needed to take a break. I was like, I'm going to read something else. So I'm reading something else right now. It's a book. It's a romance novel called Late Bloomer. I will report back once I finish it. I'm enjoying it. Okay. It's fun, but what if you win the lottery, buy a flower farm, and then find out that someone already lives there and is mad because you bought the flower farm from their mom, who shouldn't have even had the deed but did legally have the deed, and now there's conflict there. But what if it's sexy conflict?
Oh, sexy
conflict. Everyone loves a sexy conflict. So I'm reading that. Other things to mention. Free Comic Day happened, as I mentioned.
Yeah.
It was wild. It was so busy. It was crazy busy. Last year we were busy all day. Like, the shop was full basically the whole day. It petered off a little near the end of the day, but we kind of expected that to happen. But this year we kind of pulled out all the stops. Like, last year we had a local coffee roaster come. We actually have a blend that coffee roaster makes for us called Daydreams Brews. So we had him come with some of the coffee, and we offered coffee for people for free for the first half of the day. And then also we had some volunteers from Antelope Lending Library, the bookmobile my wife runs. They came and they made buttons, with the button making machine. Have you ever used a button making machine?
Yeah.
It's
been a long time, but yes. They're very cool. It is there's a satisfaction to it.
Ka-chunk. It's so satisfying. But anyway, so they came last year, and that was kind of what we had. We had the free books, we had a sale, all those sorts of things. This year we had all of those things, but we also had 2 pros doing some signings. A couple of guys who are actually local folks who are professionals in the industry. One of them is Phil Hester, who is a longtime artist, has done a lot of really cool stuff. Has done Batman, has done some Invincible, which, we got a ton of. Here's the thing. Everyone goes crazy for that Invincible stuff. Like, I have not watched that show because I don't think it's a very good comic, but I have never had anything in the time that I have worked at the shop. And the owner says this is true of the time he's worked in the shop, and he's worked there for a decade at this point. We've never seen anything drive foot traffic the way Invincible does. I don't get it. But people watch that show and then they want to read Invincible comics. So they come in and we sell them very large compendia for $65 a pop, which is great. Nice. We sell a lot of them. But so we got a ton of the trade that had the issues he drew in them, because those sold like hotcakes because everyone wanted Invincible and wanted the artist to sign it. And then we also had another local artist whose name is Eric Gapster, who actually was Phil's inker for a lot of years before he decided to become a penciler on his own. He, for example, right now is doing a Spider-Man comic that is the prequel to the new Spider-Man TV show on Disney Plus, if any of y'all have seen that. It seems like a good show. It's a really fun prequel comic. It made me think, hey, maybe I'll watch this animated TV show. Have I? No. Would I? No. But I thought about it.
I've heard good things about it.
I've heard good things too, but there's so much things I could watch that are not another Spider-Man show. Spider-Man's great. I don't need to watch more Spider-Man. I've seen Spider-Man, especially a young up and coming Spider-Man. I've seen that 1,000 times. I don't need to see it again. But that was really successful. People were very excited to see them. And so we had a line out the door. We opened at 10, And apparently there was a line that was going the other way, so we couldn't see it out the front window. But once we started letting people in, then the line kind of switched direction and we could see it in front of the store. And for 2.5 hours, we had a huge line going up the block outside of the store. Thankfully, we got people moving and people were happy to wait and enjoy a cup of coffee while they waited and then get some comics. It was the most successful free comic book day that the shop has ever had. Ever.
That is awesome. That is so cool.
It was really, really fun. We were all wiped afterwards, but it was a really successful time, and I was really happy that it went as well as it did. And I already have plans for next year. We're like, okay, how do we refine what happened this year and make it even better and more streamlined next year? So we're already thinking about things, and that's fun. That's
awesome.
And that's kind of
cool. Well, I'm glad to hear it was successful.
That's kind of where I'm at. Oh, there's one other thing I will mention, and then I have a couple like pop culture news things I want to mention before we go into our thing, because I think they're things we should talk about based on previous conversations we've had. I have fallen down. Oh, two things I want to talk about. Have you seen at all any of the drama about the newest update to Infinity, Nikki?
I have missed it. Please inform us.
Oh my God, Peter. Like in places.
I'm so excited to hear about this now.
In places on the internet, they're talking a lot about this. This is a disaster. The new patch 1.5, is a clusterfuck, dog. So here are the things that we were all expecting. Ooh, new fashions. Great new fashions. Yay. A new map to build up things in, a new miracle outfit to slowly but surely build. Everyone was like, okay, we're all excited. Then the news starts dropping. The new outfits that you have to use, you have to pull in the gachapon machine, 11 items. They've never had outfits that had 11 items to them. The most an outfit has had before is 10 items. So that means, worst case scenario, in order to finish these outfits, you need to do 20 more pulls to get the whole outfit than you would if it was only a 10-piece outfit. So people are pretty pissed about that when they find out, oh shit, that's hard pity is 220 now instead of 180 or 200, which it has been for other 5-star outfits. But okay, we'll deal with it. Then the patch comes out and they retcon the whole story. And there is a brand new cinematic when you go in that is like, actually, Nikki, you remember how in the old Nikki games you destroyed the world and then would go back in time or go to an alternate universe to try to stop the destruction of the world? Oops, that happened again. You're having dreams of it having happened in the future, and then we took you back and you're like, what the hell? And like me, I'm an old head. I've played Love Nikki. I've played Shining Nikki. Played Shining Nikki. I was like, oh yeah, Nikki destroyed the world again. Yeah, get in line, girl. You've done this like 3 times already, babe. Like, I am used to your fashions destroying the planet. It's fine. But all of the new players were like, what is going on? Why is she destroying the world with fashions? And I'm like, girl, this is what she does. This is what she does. But they were all mad about that. It retconned the whole starting. Like, there's a brand new starting. If you start the game today, that is a real mess of combining the stuff that came out in 1.5 with some of the original cutscenes from 1.0 and losing a bunch of the coolest cutscenes and making a whole cluster of the whole thing. So people are pretty mad about that. And then there's this totally new area that has co-op, and it doesn't work for shit. Like, there's nothing to do. It's boring. You're supposed to like go up to people and then see if they'll let you do co-op with them so you can see each other's outfits, but like no one really does it. And it's a mess and it's super glitchy. And some of people's currencies are disappearing from their inventory, which they're freaking out about. That's bad. And a bunch of things are not working, and like the skins are broken. Like, so I have been saving my pulls since 1.0. the game first dropped, there was this great like fairy outfit with like wings and this beautiful dress. I pulled for that, and I haven't really pulled on any of the big 5-star dresses since. I've just been saving up. So they dropped this Phoenix outfit that's incredible. And I'm like, I got the pulls. I'm going all in on it. So I got I got the first evolution. I got the second evolution. I got the whole dress a second time, all 11 pieces, so I can get the fourth evolution. Like, I have every version of this dress possible. But it has this cool thing where if you jump in the air, your wings will come out and you will just hover in place. And so I start doing that in the world. And one of the things that this dress does is it has a thing. Thankfully, this is an optional toggle you can turn off and on. When you jump up, it will change the flaming phoenix dress into like an ashen phoenix dress. And whenever it changes from the regular version of the dress to the ashen version of the dress, the skin color gets fucked up of Nikki, unless you are using the default skin color. So I had a darker skin on Nikki at that point, because you can change the skin colors. And whenever she would hover, her face would still be darker skinned, and then the rest of her body skin would get white. It would turn white. It's so embarrassing. This is like so busted, and people are so mad about it. They started trying to do a boycott, and so all of the socials were blocking the word boycott and banning anyone who said boycott. So they invented the term girlcott, because this is a Nikki game, damn it. And so then people were using girlcott for everything. And it's just been a mess, and people are super furious about it. They've been review bombing it to hell. Like, I think last time I checked on like the Apple Store and the Google Play Store, it was down to like 1.5 stars, and it used to be at like 4.7 stars. They're both low, sub 2 at this point.
That's rough.
So it is rough out there. I do not know how this game recovers from the way that the entire player base feels like they have been like shot in the face over this. But I do have a very cool outfit in 5 different colors now. She looks dope as hell. She do look dope as hell. I'm having a blast because I haven't had any of these problems. I log in, I play my game, I have a good time. It looks beautiful. I feel bad for all the people who are having problems. Apparently, I think you still can't log in on PS5. Like, it busted the login on PS5. So, like, there are some people who pay for, like, the monthly pass where you have to log in every day to get the currency from the monthly pass. If the only way you can play is the PS5, it's been a week and a half and you still can't log in. And so all that currency is going down the toilet. It's bad. Yeah, it's real bad. And of course, it coincided with Golden Week. So no one's been around. Like, everyone's on vacation because this is a huge national holiday in China.
Yeah.
Whew, it's been a mess. It's been a real mess. Very curious to see how they fix this, because 1.6 was supposed to be like, this was supposed to be like the, hey, we're doing all these big things. Then 1.6 is when the housing is supposed to come out. I don't know if anyone's still going to be playing it when they make their big housing update. Ooh, it's rough. It's rough.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I will mention is I started playing another different gacha game, because sometimes you just feel like playing gacha games. And why do I do this to myself? They're evil. They're ontologically evil because they're just gambling.
It's true. They are.
But the problem is, some of the best writing in video games right now is happening in the gacha space. And that is happening to me because I am playing Girls Frontline 2 Exilium. And it is yeah, you can laugh.
It's just the names. The names are just, they're so, yeah, whatever.
They're so stupid. And this game particularly is so dumb conceptually, and then it has the best writing I've ever seen in one of these stupid gacha games. Like, it's so good and like thoughtful and thought-provoking. And it is a stupid game where you play a commander who has a bunch of robot girls that you send out to do fights. Because, of course, the only kind of girl robot you can have is a girl robot. So you send out cute girls with big guns. And what are their names? Oh, they're all named after guns. And that's true. The original one, they're just named after whatever gun they use. So this girl's name is M16. And this girl's name is M4A4. And this girl's name, like, that's just what their names are. This girl's name is Kalashnikov. Like, what the fuck? In 2, which is a sequel to... 1 is kind of an ugly, like very hard tactics RPG. I played it a little bit and I was like, yo, this is too hard. So I watched a Let's Play on YouTube to enjoy the writing because it's got very good writing and it was too hard of a game to play. But number 2, this is just XCOM. It's just XCOM. Hey, did you like XCOM? Do you want to play XCOM for free with robot girls with big guns? Then guess what? Girls Frontline 2 Exilium is there for you. But like, again, it's the best writing I've seen in one of these gachas. When they do, it's mostly outside of the combat. It's mostly told in like visual novel form. So they're like static, pictures of the characters and then, text box that says whatever they're saying or whatever. But when they do like full motion video, it's really well done. Like it's well shot. It's well animated, really evocative. And extremely well written. And then you look at it and you're like, yeah, but why are they all dressed kind of horny? Why do you do this to me? Why do you do this to me? Why did you lock some of the best writing I've played in a video game in years behind horny robot girls with big guns? Why did you do this to me? But I am playing it. I have to admit it. It's pretty good.
Okay. All right.
All right. So the 2 pop culture things I want to bring up just to mention them to you. Did you hear about why we're not getting a Hawkeye season 2?
I mean, so what I had most recently heard is that it may still be happening, but that Jeremy Renner just may not be in it.
With good reason, because they offered him half what they wanted, what they paid him for the first season.
Yep.
Why are you only offering the man half what you paid him for the first season? What are you doing, guys?
I mean, as he said in that video, did they think he's half a person because he's been run over?
Which was maybe a little milking of your tragedy. I'm not going to lie. That sucks that you ran yourself over with your fucking snowplow dog, but it was okay. But that's just dumb. It just seems like an unforced error. It just seems like a real... If you don't want to make the show, just don't offer him a part, Right. Anyway. And then my other thing I wanted to bring up, you seen that Murderbot trailer yet?
I actually haven't. I've seen bits of it on like when I've scrolled through Instagram and stuff, but I haven't watched the actual trailer, the whole trailer.
You'll have to give it a shot. I'm curious to see how you react to it. I think because
here's what I'll say.
Go ahead.
Here's what I'll say briefly. The short version that I saw on the Apple TV Instagram thing that I was flipping through, I didn't like it. The little bit that I saw, there was something about it that just didn't, I don't know. Like, I've only read that first book or that novella that we talked about, but I watched it and I'm like, this doesn't feel like what I felt like when I was reading that Murderbot novella. But again, I probably saw like 5-10 seconds. So I did not feel like I wanted to go watch the rest of the trailer because that little clip, something about it didn't feel right to me.
It feels like, again, I've only read that first novella too. It felt like the casting was really solid with one glaring problem, and that is a Skarsgård as the Murderbot.
Yeah.
It does. It's just not the vibe. It's just not the vibe for me. I have seen some people who've been like, oh, like people are like, they want it to be more androgynous. And, Alexander Skarsgård is not an androgynous person. Like, he looks like a guy, but like that, sure. Not all non-binary people are androgynous, which I get it. I'm a non-binary person, sure. But I look like a mask person. I'm not an androgynous person. Like, I'm just not. But so sure. I get it. I get where they're coming from, where they're like, no, this is good representation for non-binary or gender, agendered people. And yeah, that's all fair and good. The vibe, though, it's just not the vibe. It's just not how I imagine the character. It's just not the vibe. I'm still hopeful that it's good because it seemed like everyone else was very good. Like, the rest of the cast seemed really fine. We'll see. It also does look a little cheap, but it is a TV show for a streaming service, so I'm kind of expecting cheap. Not every TV show for a streaming service can look like fucking Andor does.
It's true, but I will say that Foundation looks fucking amazing.
That's
and
true.
So Apple TV, they'll put in the money to make, I mean, a lot of their big high concept sci-fi stuff has looked pretty incredible. So I'm hopeful that it's not portraying itself well in the trailers, because Foundation looks I mean, seriously, I remember just watching the first season of Foundation, and I still haven't made it through the second, but there were many times where I was like, it was blowing my mind that it was a TV show and not a $200 million movie.
It was only $45 million that first season. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
that's
looked
pretty
really
impressive.
Good. So,
because, like,
I'm crossing
again,
my fingers hoping that they bring it.
I joke you're not going to look like Andor. Andor cost $300 million for season 2 of that show. Disney was just like, hey, Tony Gilroy, do you want to burn more money than we spent on Rise of Skywalker? And he said, yes, I'll turn in 4 movies for that money. And it's better than Rise of Skywalker could ever be. But we can talk about that when that season ends next week.
Again,
and besides, we got to move on, because we, as promised, need to talk about 2003's Hulk.
We do need to talk about it.
Hey, Peter, how did you find the movie you had not seen before, 2003's Hulk?
Eden, I am so confused.
This movie is so fucking weird.
Do I like it? Do I hate it? Am I indifferent? It depended on which second of the movie you would have asked me. There were some times where I'm like, this is really good. And there are other times I'm like, what the actual cinnamon toast fuck is going on here?
Hell yeah. It's so good. I think this movie's so cool. I like this movie a lot. Yeah. I understand why you felt that way about it, though, because it is a mess of a movie. It's a mess.
God, yes, it is.
And like you can see, so like there are so many seams, and it is creaking at those seams constantly. Like it is fit to burst with all of the weird psychosexual drama that is seeping out of this thing at every possible moment. But I think this movie is so cool. It's such a mess.
It is really bizarre. I mean, like I say, there were parts of it where I thought to myself, this may be the best representation of Hulk, and while not Hulk itself, because let's just get this over and done with out of the way. The Hulk itself looks real bad.
No, it doesn't.
Again, I know this is 2003. It looks real bad. It is too green by a country mile. Yep. No,
that's the good part. It's like, the right color green.
It is like this is a color of green that does not exist in nature unless you have too much chlorophyll inside of you. And then he's too smooth. It looks very plastic. And they tried to make him still look like Eric Bana, so that you looked at him and you're like, yep, I can tell that that's Eric Bana. And I think it looks awful. Like, it didn't take me out of it because, again, this is 2003. And now when Gareth walked through and saw it, he looked at me, he's like, what is that? And I'm like, it's 2003. You know, he wasn't alive then. So he doesn't get it. So I could forgive it for that. But, the Hulk just, I couldn't get over. Every time he was on the screen, I'm like, it is like, this is like ecto cooler green, which is just, maybe it's because I have these bad memories of St. Patrick's Day and our mother force feeding us everything green, including green milk and green ecto cooler and green scrambled eggs. And so maybe I have something against the color green, deep rooted. I don't know. We're uncovering this right now as I'm talking out loud. But yeah, the Hulk doesn't look great, but there is this emotional part of it. And I think it may be the first time where, and maybe in some ways a little heavy-handed, but better than in any other representation that I can think of Hulk in modern times, where they really use the character and the idea of the Incredible Hulk as this physical manifestation of emotional and psychological trauma.
Absolutely.
And which is, I think, and again, I haven't read it, so please call me on my bullshit. But I had this thought as I was taking some notes while I was watching this. I was like, oh, is that what Hulk has always been? And it just doesn't necessarily get portrayed very well some of the time. And I thought to myself, I think so. I think that that's probably what Hulk has always been. But I think that this may be the best representation of, hey, that's what Hulk is. Hulk is a physical manifestation of psychological and emotional trauma. And in this case, I think probably as a result of abuse.
Yeah. Yeah, that is fundamental. Like I joked earlier that it's bursting to the seams with psychosexual like dysfunction, and that's true. But like a lot of that is, like you said, the trauma that comes from abuse. This is a movie about a man who abused his son, and now that son has to deal with the fallout of the abuse that he suffered at the hands of his father. And like
with a father who thinks that he has done him favors because that his abuse was a good thing, like justifying his abusive behavior as, but look what I did for you. Now give it to me.
And then we see that type of benign control on the part of Betty and General Ross. Like he is just, it's a different type of abuse, but he is abusive to his child too. And like, this is a movie about the abuses that fathers pass on to their children, and like generational trauma, and how do we deal with that? And maybe the wrong way to deal with that is become an enormous rage monster. But also, he's never felt freedom in that same way.
It's true.
That's what he says. So I'm going to do a quick synopsis, and then we can get into like other thoughts on the film. It's a Hulk movie. The Hulk is Bruce Banner. He is abused by his father. His father is a military scientist who is doing experiments on himself. His wife gets pregnant with their child. He realizes that the son has mutated DNA and is trying to cure his son of this mutated DNA that he has. Things break bad. And we eventually find out what happens, but essentially, David, the father, tries to kill Bruce, his son, but accidentally murders his wife when she stops him. And then things go bad, and his dad gets put in military prison. Bruce goes off to foster care, gets adopted out, and thinks his birth parents are both dead, and then becomes a scientist and meets Betty Ross. While they are doing research on nanobots and gamma radiation.
No.
Nanomeds. That's right. Not bots.
Nanomeds.
Nanomeds. And gamma radiation. Bruce tries to save a colleague from an accident and absorbs all of the gamma radiation and the nanomeds because he's exposed to all of them. And it has merged with his weird mutant altered DNA. And that is what causes now, when he is angry, he becomes the Hulk. He destroys his lab. He gets put under house arrest. His father, who has gotten out of military prison and has ended up as the janitor at Berkeley, where Bruce and Betty work, comes and explains that, you know, he has been following him. He's the dad, and he wants to rekindle a relationship with Bruce. And part of what he needs to do is get Betty out of the way. So he sends his mutated dogs after Betty. Bruce hulks out again, saves her from the dogs, changes back. Betty calls her dad. They trank him, take him to a desert base. There's a whole subplot with like a dumb military contractor who, like, I guess went to college with the two of them, and they both kind of fucking hate his guts.
Don't worry, we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, Talbot sucks. Talk about that. He gets himself killed trying to stop the Hulk. It's great. It's one of my favorite scenes because it's so goofy. Hulk escapes the base. There's lots of fighting in the desert. It looks simultaneously great and bad because it's 2003 CGI. Eventually, they talk Bruce down. he meets with his father in front of an enormous electromagnet that will kill them both if they turn it on. His dad, David, has this megalomaniacal rant about how this is human evolution. He owes his power to his father, and that's why he wants it now. He also exposed himself to the nanomeds and the gamma radiation, and now he's a weird absorbing man, like Crusher Creel, except not as cool. But he can absorb shit now. So he wants to absorb all of Bruce's power. Bruce hulks out. They fight. His dad keeps turning into weird different types of energy. He absorbs energy. He absorbs lightning, all this sorts of stuff. Eventually they drop a bomb. Dad disappears. Dad gets killed by the bomb. Bruce survives. Betty's under monitor. She's like, if he's alive, he'll never come back. And it ends with Bruce in the Amazon rainforest as a medical doctor and hulks out at the very end because some like militia dudes come to steal the supplies, the medical supplies that he's using to like help these people or something. And that's where the movie ends. So, thoughts on this movie?
So besides the thoughts I've already shared, I want to get this out of the way. The weakest part of this movie, the most unnecessary part of this movie, other than when the Hulk beats the crap out of Talbot, that whole Atheon subplot,
that's
just
useless.
I think if they had cut that, this would have been maybe a 7 to 8 minute, maybe even a 10-minute shorter movie, and it would have been much, much stronger because of that.
I agree.
But that part, I kept coming back to this. In fact, in my notes, I think I wrote down a couple times the trope of the corporate evil scientist against the academic, ideological scientist just feels super overdone, and it was unnecessary here. It didn't really add anything in. And the only reason it was satisfying watching this dude get his ass kicked was because he was such just a stain on the movie, quite honestly.
The only reason I like him being there is because of the way he dies. And this is the thing we need to talk to larger about the film as a whole, the way it is structured, the way that it is shot, and the way that it is presented to you, the viewer. Because when Ang Lee, who is the director of this film, Ang Lee, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Ang Lee, Brokeback Mountain, Ang Lee, Sense and Sensibility, Ang Lee. When they said, hey, buddy, we want you to make a comic book movie, he said, well, what do I need to put in a comic book movie? We need some fucking panels. And so there is so many weird montages where there are multiple panels on the screen at once and things moving around like a comic page. There's gutters places. There's this really weird structure, especially in almost any of the numerous montage shots. Whenever we're conveying someone from one place to another place, whenever the Danny Elfman score soars, because it was the early 2000s, so of course you hired Danny Elfman to do the score for your superhero movie. Any of these times that's happening, it feels discordant with what we expect from a superhero movie, because they're just kind of straightforward movies nowadays. They're not reckoning with, okay, this is a character who comes from comics. What are the things that a comic does, and how can I put those on the screen, even though we're dealing with something that doesn't work the same way as comics do? Because the reason comics have panels and gutters and all those sorts of things is to convey action, to convey motion to you, the reader, in your brain. Because you are the one who fill in all of the other parts of a comic, because you're looking at static images. You fill in the action. You fill in the motion. You fill in the sound effects when you see thwack on the page. All that's coming from you. But Ang Lee is like, well, I got to put that shit on the screen, though. I got to put it on the screen. And so, there are other movies that have done things like this. Scott Pilgrim versus the World, I think very famously, doesn't do the panel stuff, but does do things like thwack and big cartoony kind of, this is shit out of a comic book on the screen in a live action movie. But this one just does it
really quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I loved those moments
They're incredible.
to the point that I wish he would have used them in more of the actiony scenes as well.
Oh, I 100% agree.
Like I found myself thinking, God, I wish there was more of this, because it really did feel like it was only in those, almost like it was used in these interstitial scenes. So it's used in the, okay, we're taking Hulk down into the bottom of this base, and it was in these scenes where it was being used in that regard, and it was really interesting and unique. And I found myself going, gosh, I think you could have done something really cool with this when he's jumping through the desert and busting up some helicopters and stuff too. So I actually wish that it had been a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree. The trick is most of the big action scenes were done by the second director, not by Ang Lee. So that's why they're like that. And I think they're good. Like, I think that there's some really fun action scenes in here, but they don't have that same weird feel to them, the split screen technique of panels and stuff, until occasionally in the fights, like when Talbot dies. Because when Talbot dies, he dies stupidly because he shoots a bomb, like a grenade at the Hulk, and it bounces off his fucking forehead because he's the goddamn Hulk. And then lodges in the wall behind Talbot and explodes. And as he forward, suddenly it cuts him out, and he is a visual effect moving out of the screen with gutter around him. And I was like, yo, where was that through the rest of these fight scenes, guys?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that alone makes me say, yeah, I guess keep the Talbot plot, even if it does suck. I needed that there. Anyway, other thoughts on this movie?
I thought that Jennifer Connelly was really good as Betty Ross.
She's great.
She might be the best Betty Ross that we've seen.
Unfortunately, I feel like Liv Tyler didn't have a lot to do in the Incredible Hulk movie. I think that movie's pretty bad. I know that it has its shooters, but especially when you compare it to Iron Man, it's like Iron Man is woo, the MCU is coming in hot. And then Incredible Hulk comes out and you're like, is it though? Is it?
It's true.
And then you're followed up with Iron Man 2 and you're like, is this gonna work? Are they gonna pull this off? And thankfully, Captain America, Thor, and Avengers all do pull it off. But there's a couple stinkers in that early MCU, and Incredible Hulk is one of them. I think Edward Norton is poorly cast, way worse cast than Eric Bana. And I think that Liv Tyler is a worse casting choice than Jennifer Connelly here. I think Jennifer Connelly owns it. I think Sam Elliott is a great, surly, mean Thunderbolt Ross. I don't know if I said this to you when I talked about Brave New World, but I said to multiple other people, why did they bring in Harrison Ford to replace William Hurt? Just give it
to Sam Elliott.
As a little treat to those of us who remember 2003's Hulk, bring Sam Elliott in, because at least he would have had the guts to have a fucking mustache still.
That's exactly right. He would have been way better.
He would have been. But he's great. And Nick Nolte. Nick Nolte is chewing the scenery as David Banner. Yes. He's so good. He sucks so much.
Yes, he does. No, I mean, I think those were a lot of the big things. I will say it was an interesting choice, and I wonder if it was budgetary, if it was hey, let's not make this messy worrying about civilians. But most of the Hulk fight, there's the stuff in the base, and then the rest of it is just him getting bombed and everything out in the middle of nowhere, which I actually kind of liked, because it was a good way to give us the sense of how strong he is without the baggage of, that scene in, it's in Avengers 2, I think, because it's when Scarlet Witch messes with the Hulk's mind and he goes crazy and the Hulkbuster armor has to come out. It's a tense scene, and in part it's tense because you're like, oh my gosh, how many people did just die in this? And I think that was in part kind of why they were setting that up. But it was nice to just watch this and to just kind of gleefully be like, you dumb fucks, you're all gonna blow up. And I can just kind of cackle with glee as the Hulk is just wrecking shit.
But it's also very funny that they made very clear that most,
yeah.
if not all of those soldiers survived.
Yeah, they're like, we're down, but we're fine. We're down, but we're fine.
He would purposefully make sure that they didn't die, and he'd be like, no, I'm going to destroy your shit. I'm going to kill people because I'm a hero. I'm a good guy in my heart. I am the Hulk. Hulk is a good man. But I will wreck your shit.
And, you know, once he gets to San Francisco, really the only destruction he gets in San Francisco is he's underneath the road.
Fucks up the street a little.
You know, we get the trolley that tips over and everybody jumps out of it. And there's a car wreck. But even the old lady, I paid attention. The old lady's car, like, head-on collides with the trolley and then gets rear-ended by the car. Yeah, she's like, you can still see her. She's like, her eyes are open. She's like, but she's fine and alive and, you know, not crushed like she probably would have been.
Yeah.
So I appreciated that aspect of it, actually.
I think it's a really funny choice and I like it.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty good. And, you know, the whole ending with Dad, like you said, Nick Nolte's just chewing the scenery. He's just going ham with it. And it's fun and uncomfortable. And it's supposed to be, I think.
Really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really think, and that is where I think this movie shines, is that it feels unlike other superhero movies in a lot of ways. Even when it doesn't near the end, again, when they're firing bombs at him and he's running around and he's catching missiles in his hand and like chewing the warhead off and then spitting it at the cockpit. Like that's good. That's good stuff. But like I could see like Ruffalo's Hulk doing that if Ruffalo was angry. Like I could see Ruffalo's Hulk do that. I could not see Ruffalo's Hulk get bigger because dog bite him at hurt. That's one thing I think is really interesting about this interpretation of the Hulk. It's always been the case of the angrier the Hulk gets, the stronger the Hulk gets, right? In this version, the angrier the Hulk gets, the bigger the Hulk gets. He keeps getting larger. And so like there's the scenes where like one of the mutant dogs is biting his shoulder and it makes him angry, so his shoulder gets bigger and it breaks the dog's jaw because he's angry and his shoulder gets bigger. And that's so goofy. And he gets so huge. Like, again, the Norton and Ruffalo Hulks are like 9 foot, and that's it. And they top out there, and he's always the same height. He doesn't get bigger. He doesn't get smaller. That's just Hulk is that size. In this movie, he keeps getting bigger. He ends up like 12, 13 feet. Like, he's absurdly big. And it really stretches credulity how them pants stay on him. It stretches credulity that they would stretch that well, and B, that they would stay on and that he's not ass out. To be fair, we do get ass out Eric Bana after he fights the dogs because he gets too big and his pants finally bust off. During that fight, his pants bust off. We don't see any Hulk dick, but we do see Eric Bana butt, and that's good enough for me. Anyway, any other thoughts on Hulk?
You know, I think just kind of my final thoughts were, it is, like you said, it is in many ways a mess of a movie, but there were some things that I think that it did more effectively than any other portrayal of the Hulk has done. And that really was, again, hitting home the idea that the Hulk is this physical manifestation of trauma as the result of abuse.
Yeah.
And in that regards, it's pretty powerful. And as you mentioned, you see it on both sides. I think the first thing, you know, one of the lines I wrote, I said, the daddy issues are strong with this one because it's controlling and abusing parents with both our hero and our heroine. And I think that it portrays that pretty effectively. And at the beginning, I was having a difficult time getting into it. When it was done, I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it.
Yeah. I think it just speaks to, I really like it when these superhero movies are allowed to be a little weird and to be given to like a director who has a vision, who has like an ethos of filmmaking, because all of Ang Lee's movies are about trauma. That's what the dude does. Like,
Sure.
that is what his movies are about, and often are about like repressed and hidden emotion. And guess what the Hulk is about? Emotional charge and repressed emotions. So that's the guy to make a Hulk movie. You don't hire Louis Leterrier, who's done nothing of note ever. Like, who cares about this man? Oh, he made the Transporter movies. That's not who you hire. You hire someone who's like weird, and that works. Like, when some of the best of the Marvel Cinematic movies are the ones where they're like, yeah, we're hiring like a weirdo for this. We're hiring a weirdo from the indies. Like, do I think the Thunderbolts, going back to the Thunderbolts convo, do I think a lot of the Thunderbolts advertisements were really cringe, where they were like trying to lean into, we hired a bunch of indie and like weird alt cinema folks to make this one, guys. Come see this one. It's the A24 Marvel movie. But you know what? It kind of was. It's the closest it's been to one of those. And so keep doing that, guys. Keep hiring people like that to make your movies, because when you do, it works.
It's true.
Anyway,
it's true.
I think we'll wrap here. If you haven't seen Hulk, it's worth watching. I think it's cool. I think it's really cool.
It is very much worth watching.
And I think the color is correct. I understand why Peter does not like the radioactive puke green. I think it's the exact right color for the Hulk. When I saw the 2008 movie, I was like, why is he so browny green? Like, why isn't he? He needs to be more puke green. I need it more fluorescent, please. Anyway, that's how I feel about the Hulk. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with another episode. In the meantime, feel free to give us a rating or a review on your favorite platform of choice for podcasts. And you can always write us a comment if you think I'm wrong and you want the Hulk to be puke, like a terrible brown green instead of the beautiful radioactive green. You can always reach out to us at feedback@themiddleofculture.com. And until next time, we'll see you then.
Bye.